Just when I thought it was getting too dark out there in the world, I find a silver lining. I finally got him, boys. I'd take him out, but everything's being quarantined right now. With Scream 5 officially being in the works, we were probably supposed to get so much more news on this movie if the Rona that make you Mona didn't happen. But we still got a whole bunch of tidbits about this movie and what we can expect. So what I wanted to do is go ahead and run down how this reboot or fifth installment in the Scream franchise could look very different from everything we've gotten so far. What will they change? What will they upgrade? But really just talking some Scream because I've been talking to nothing but myself this past week and it's getting lonely. So do me a favor and make sure you're hitting that like button, okay? 80% of the stuff out there is shut down right there. You got nothing better to do. Hit that like button. But comment down below, out of all the things we talk about, which one do you see them actually changing or keeping for the new movie? So with the details we've gotten down so far about this new Scream reboot, we actually don't know if it's a reboot at this current point in time. All we know is that we're getting a new Scream movie as of right now. It's definitely going to involve new characters, but it's unknown if legacy characters like Gale Weathers, Dewey, or Sidney Prescott will be involved. The current plot synopsis reads, a new installment of the Scream horror franchise will follow a woman returning to her hometown to try and find out who has been committing a series of vicious crimes. So the first thing I wanted to address is the title for the new movie. Now, I've been preaching to you guys for the longest time about sequels and how they get named nowadays. Unless a sequel for a movie is coming within 3 to 4 years of the previous movie's release date, it makes it very unlikely that the next sequel will have a number attached to it. After about the third film in a franchise, if you continue to number your movies, you begin to really limit your audience at the box office. Because statistically, less and less people start seeing the sequel, so then less and less people are still involved in this franchise. So because of this reason, if the new Scream movie actually does involve the legacy characters that we love, this in no way will be titled Scream 5. I just know it in my gut that they're not going to go ahead and do that, and if I'm wrong, I will recreate the scene from Scary Movie where they say, "What's up?" I'll even purchase the dang Ghostface mask with the tongue sticking out. So if it's not going to be titled Scream 5, what will the new title be? There's a couple of options. One, you could go the very simple, the very uncreative route of giving it the exact same name as the first movie, Scream. That was really close because I'm not even wearing any pants right now. I mean, the 2018 reboot slash sequel for the Halloween franchise just gave themselves the same name, Halloween. We have the new Candyman movie coming out this year that went ahead and just named itself Candyman. So it's not all that crazy to think if this is a fifth installment and it's a continuation of the universe, they'll go ahead and just call it Scream because it's been over 20 years since the first Scream was in theaters. But even if they do that at first, you know they're trying to start off a whole new franchise with this. Spyglass Entertainment, the people who bought the franchise from the Weinstein Company when it was going bankrupt, did not buy this property to make one movie and then let it get dusty on the shelf. No, they see that this franchise is capable of 4 movies, and in a world where horror movies are pretty hot right now, they're going to want to continue that trend. So if they give us a successful reboot sequel and it was just titled Scream, that means the sequel would have to be entitled Scream 2? Or worse, Scream with some sort of tagline like Scream Again or Scream Louder? Instead, I'm growing more and more onto the idea that the new Scream movie could actually be titled Ghostface. I know the name might seem kind of jarring at first, but this is the name of the masked killer throughout the movies, and I always found it a bit odd whenever characters would refer to the killer as Ghostface. I always took it as a name the audience should call the killer, but the actual people in Scream should just be calling the killer, well, the killer. But I think entitling your movies Ghostface would be a good way to tell the audience this is something new we're doing with the franchise, but it's still the iconic character you grew up with, and they'll still find a way to put the word Scream somewhere in the tagline or in the trailers of the movie. I can see a poster having the name Ghostface and then the tagline saying, "No one will hear you scream." But hey, if those titles don't work, then go with the title your own movie came up with, Stab. It is the title to the scary movies within the Scream franchise. I remember always watching the Scream movies and just being fascinated that those films in their universe exist and how badly I would want to see them. Moving on to the next thing that this franchise might get rid of that is very iconic with the series is the opening kill. Now, I know a lot of people right off the bat will find this extremely controversial and go, nope, this isn't even a Scream movie anymore. What are you doing? But if you didn't know, for almost every Scream movie or Scream property out there, when the movie opens up, the first 10 minutes deal with the first victim of the movie. Nothing beats how iconic the very first Scream movie did it. I still get goosebumps watching that scene go down and some of the lines Ghostface throws at the Drew Barrymore's character. But by the time the fourth film came out, it was a very tired formula, to where I gotta admit, it was a little disappointing having that be the opening for Scream 4, in where it was a double fake out of people watching a movie, of them being in real life. And one thing you gotta do when you reboot or give us a new movie is stay fresh, stay relevant, and not go back to a tired formula of, okay, first 10 minutes we gotta start off with this kill, then we gotta introduce the character, then we gotta do this, then we gotta do that. You're starting to fall into remake territory at that point, where you just tell us the exact same movie in an updated fashion. Now don't get me wrong, the directors of Ready or Not who are attached to this new Scream movie scream fresh and inventive, no pun intended. So if they do decide to keep the tradition of the first 10 minutes involving a victim going down by Ghostface, preferably someone super famous like at the time Drew Barrymore, don't know who that would be for this point in time, Scarlett Johansson, they're gonna have to get creative in a way where it just doesn't feel stale or a repeat of what the other opening movies did. Not to mention, it also ruins your suspense, because as soon as whoever the camera opens on at the beginning of a Scream movie, you know, oh, within the next 5 to 7 minutes, that person is gonna be gonzo. Honestly, it would be a pleasant surprise this time around if the person who opens the movie actually survives the encounter, deceiving our expectation and also letting the audience know, hey, this ain't your daddy's Scream. One thing I'm very happy about this new Scream movie that it looks like they might be changing is no teenagers. Now, if we read that plot synopsis again of a woman returning to her hometown to try to find out who has been committing a series of vicious crimes, that does not sound to me like a teenage girl pretending to be Sherlock Holmes moving towns to try and figure out who Ghostface is. I'm assuming this means the character will be in their late 20s or early 30s. If you want to push it to a real adolescence, it could be someone coming home from college. But the point I'm trying to make here is that even though Scream only dealt with teenagers in the first movie, the MTV series, however, takes it as Scream is a teenagers only franchise, when by the second movie they were in college, third movie they were full-blown adults, fourth movie again. I don't mind the Scream franchise going after teenagers, because hey, that's the formula of a horror film. It's teenagers versus ex-killer. But then that could lead us to what I'm just fearful about, is just unwanted dated trends, things that the movie will do now that is trendy. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Ghostface has a TikTok. Instead of calling you, he texts you or Snapchats you. We saw Scream 4 refer to a Ghostface app. Who knows if they take that one step further in this new movie. If you make most of the main characters adult in this film, it gives us a good reason to keep the technology at a basic level where it's just phone calls, text messages, maybe the occasional FaceTime from Ghostface. I don't want to sound like an old man over here saying I'm against technology being part of Scream, because it's always been something iconic with the franchise. But I just felt a lot of the times when you mix technology and horror, it doesn't always work out the best, and I'd rather them focus on a good story and giving us a good reveal by the end of the movie than hitting Ghostface hit up your DMs. And one of the last things I want to talk about concerning the new Scream movie that is going to be the most controversial out of all of them: do they bring back the iconic voice of Roger L. Jackson? It seems like a no-brainer to bring back Roger L. Jackson for this franchise. He's the guy who's been the voice of Ghostface since the first movie. The dude brings absolute chills to the character and delivers all his lines very menacingly. It's almost a given that he'll be brought back into this fold. But I bring it back to that Spyglass will be wanting to make several sequels of this movie. When it comes to horror reboots, relaunches, or even a new sequel, it's not that uncommon for them to change the big horror icon. We've seen them do it with Chucky, we've seen them do it with Freddy Krueger, and us not really knowing what type of style they're gonna go for with this new Scream movie, I wouldn't be surprised if they went ahead and replaced Roger L. Jackson for someone completely new with a different set of vocal cords. Wes Craven always had a very specific vision for what the Scream franchise should be, and now that it's finally being led into the hands of new writers and new directors, it really opens the possibility for something completely new, which also excites me but scares me at the same time. But like I said, they'll probably bring him back, because one thing ever since this whole reboot got announced that it is official online, Roger L. Jackson on Twitter has been completely silent and ignoring every question about the reboot, and that lets me know that he's probably been contacted and he's under contract right now to stay silent about it until further notice. It would be a bad sign if he was out there tweeting, oh, would be nice to get a phone call, or hey, I'd love to be part of this. Then we would worry, but the fact that he's been silent and ignoring anything Scream related lets me know he's probably already involved. But anyways, guys, those are just some things involving Scream 5 that they could change for the new franchise or might end up sticking exactly the same. I really want to throw it off to you guys to let me know down below, what do you feel they are going to change? What are they going to keep the same? What do you want to see out of this new franchise? Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. As always, I'm Chris. Take care.